Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie
I'm Jessica.
I don't know why I do that. Sometimes I just burst out laughing. And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So today's video is all about the dark romance.
We need some creepy music to play.
I know.
Speaking of dark romance, Jessica, on our way to our road to 1K giveaway, our next stop is at 500, and one lucky subscriber is going to win this dark romance reader cinch sack full of fun swag and
Twisted Love by Anna Huang.
Yes. So all you have to do to be entered is just be a subscriber here on YouTube. And you can also follow us on Instagram for an extra entry.
Yep. And that is all linked down below. Okay. So Mandy and I recently did our favorite dark series. Then we realized that we had a lot of dark standalones and duets that really needed their own video. So
some more than others.
Some more than others. So here you go. So that's what we're going to be talking about is dark romances that were not in that video that we wanted to include in their own video. So like always, it is dark romance. So check your triggers before you get into these. All these books have trigger warnings. So Mandy.
Yes.
Who's starting?
You can start, Jessica.
Mandy just wants to look at her notes.
I do.
Okay. All right. I'll start. So my first rec, now this one that Mandy and I actually kind of feel a little bit different about this book. But this one is Torment by Dylan Page. So this is a part of her Bleeding Hearts duet, and it actually turns into a series after all. But the first two books are about the same three people. So this is about Shay and Mina, and then you get a little bit of Keenan in there every once in a while. When I say this is dark, I am not joking. This is dark, and there's a lot of creepy elements. Just know that going into it. So this is an MC romance, but Shay meets Mina when Mina is 7 and Shay is, I want to say he is 14, 16, somewhere in there. He's a teenager. He's 14, 15. And his dad is the president to a motorcycle club. And Mina's mom is dating his dad. And she doesn't realize what she's getting herself and her daughter into at this point in time. She doesn't really realize what the dad is into. When she realizes it, she can't get out. And part of that is because Shay has taken such a liking to Mina. Like he is just instantly like brother, sister attracted. Now Shay has a lot of major mental issues, major. And he uses Mina as like his, I don't know, she's his comfort. She's his escape when they're little. But as they start to get older, there's a lot of creepy things that happen. There's a lot of things that shouldn't be happening. She sleeps in the same bed with him when it shouldn't happen. And when she's 16, things change between them. She's 16 and he is 23 at this point in time. Things start to change. There is an incident that happens that makes it where she has to completely depend on him. And this other guy is also brought into the picture. So this is a duet, and there's not a lot that I can say about it because it gives a lot away. But when I say that they cross boundaries, oh my gosh, our boundaries crossed. Horrible. Like this is dark. This is really dark. And it doesn't have a traditional happy ending. Let's just put it that way. It has something that happens, but it's not a traditional happy ending. So at the end of the second book, first book ends on a cliffhanger. So run right out and read it, guys. And I don't have triggers. This book triggered me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The second one did. Yeah.
All right. My first book is called Cruel Idols by Sorcha Black. And this is about Sadie, who everybody is always down on their luck in these books.
You notice that?
She's down on her luck. She's living in like a really crappy little apartment that she can't really afford. And she hears from a friend that one of her favorite authors is staying at a vacation house out a little ways from her town where she lives. So she hops on her bike and pedals out there. because she can't afford a car. So she bike rides out there hoping to just maybe get a glimpse of him and be able to get his autograph. Well, she gets there and she's kind of wandering around and she sees his computer out and he sees her and loses it. So this is Vandal. He loses it. He thinks that she must be sent there to try and get an early copy of his writing. And she's like, no, no, no. She tries to explain what she's doing there and he doesn't believe it. So he forces her to stay with him for the summer until the book is released because he doesn't want any leaks or anything. And he brings his friend Zero in, who's also a writer, but him and Zero have a relationship. And so he brings Zero in. And from there, she starts working on her writing because she's just basically being held there, sort of captive, but not really, I guess. And the three of them embark on some really dark and twisted things that happen with like a basement that only has a dirt floor and like dog cage. Like it gets very twisted and very, very dark. I don't understand why I liked it, but I did.
I say that about almost all the twisted dark books that I read. Don't know what's wrong with me, but I liked it. So that can be said about this next book that I'm reading, or that I'm recommending. So this is Sick Fucks by Tillie Cole. That's F-U-X if you guys can't tell. This is a banned book. You cannot get this on Amazon. You have to purchase this book through Tillie's website. So this is about Alice and Heathen. So when Alice is a little girl, she meets Heathen. She is obsessed with Alice in Wonderland, and Heathen is like he looks like an undertaker. He wears all black, long black hair. You know, he is the, you know, she's sunshine and he's the rain clouds type situation. As children, something happens to both of them. Guys, when I say check your triggers, I am not joking. Things happen on page in this book to children that should never happen. And they get separated after this incident. These incidents occur. And then the book picks up a handful of years later. Heathen has come home to get Ellis to go get revenge on the people that hurt them. But when he gets there, Ellis is still living inside her head. She has been so traumatized and so abused over the years that she thinks that she calls herself Dolly. So she thinks she's like Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And he has to pretend to be her rabbit to get her out of the house that they're in to go on an adventure to kill all the people who have hurt them and wronged them. And that is what this is about. I did love it, but when I say it's dark, that's no, like it doesn't get any darker. It really doesn't. I mean, I can try. I've got a few on here that I'll try, but it doesn't get much darker than this. We're questioning ourselves at this point, aren't we?
A little. My next one, though, is dark, but I would call it light dark. Mm-hmm. So my next book is called Axed by Samantha Knowles. This is a novella. It is marketed as dark, but again, I would say it's like light dark. So Axel just got out of prison, and Eden is his parole officer. So you can kind of see where this is going. Eden and Axel both knew each other in high school, and now suddenly people that were connected to them in high school are ending up dead. Dun, dun, dun. And Axel and Eden kind of have the hots for each other. It's a novella, so it's pretty quick. Can't really tell you much more, or it gives things away, but it does have dark elements. And I read it because I'm like, ooh, he just got out of prison and this is his parole officer. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. I have yet to find a really good book that does that, like as in a full-length book where they're struggling with like, how are we going to be together? Like I read one where she was a lawyer and he was a criminal, like a really well-known criminal. And I just can't find one where they do that well.
Yeah, I know. I would love to read one like that, but it's... Mm-mm. Ooh, Karen. Maybe we can get Karen to write one.
Please, okay. Somebody write a really done well. Like I want the taboo and the angst of how they're not supposed to be together, so they're sneaking around. How is this going to work out?
Or working in the prison. I want it to be, yeah,
just
like you said.
Yep,
and not weird. Or if you guys know one, please tell us down below.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. So my next recommendation is taken by Natasha Knight. This is a duet as well, and it actually kind of rolls into its own series because you get other characters. So this was literally the very first romance that I ever read on Amazon or listened to. This was an audio, I listened to it. And this was the very first dark romance that I ever read. So this is about Sebastian Scaffoni and then Helena Willow. So this is about the Willow girls. Like they refer to these girls as the Willow whipping girls. So in every generation, a set of what do you call it? 4 quadruplets is born in the Willow family, and they are all girls. All 3 of them are blonde. 1 of them is a brunette. Every generation. And when they come of age, when they're 21, the Scaffoni boys get to go and choose one of them to be their whipping girl for the year. And so what happens is the oldest Scaffoni boy chooses the one that he wants, and they're all supposed to remain virgins and pure. And then he gets that girl for a year, does whatever he wants to her. And then when that year's up, she gets passed down to the next brother and the next brother. And then once their years are up, then she gets sent home, and she gets sent home pretty much a mess. At that point, she is completely broken. And so our heroine doesn't remember why. Like, nobody knows why these families have done this for generations upon generations upon generations. And so Helena is the only brunette in this generation. And Sebastian comes to choose the girls on their 21st birthday, and he chooses her, partly because she's actually had sex already. She is no longer a virgin. She has like a red slash across her dress because they're wearing these white gowns to show that she is impure. But he sees something in her. He knows that she's going to fight him on whatever he tries to do. He knows that she's going to have spirit, and he wants to break her. And she wants to break the tradition and find out why and ruin that for them. So this is their story. He takes her away to a private island, and all this stuff happens. Like, there's literally a whipping post for these girls. And so this is interesting.
That's horrible.
It's so good. It's really, compared to the other books, it's not as dark. I mean, it is dark. It's dark. It's just not as dark as the other ones that I've been recommending.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, my next book is El Diablo by M. Robinson. So this is a mafia style book. There's a lot of ruthlessness, but as for like mafia dealings, you don't see a lot of that in El Diablo. So we have Alejandro, who is El Diablo, and this is really kind of his story about how he became El Diablo in his world. And if you've read Crave by M. Robinson, you've met Briggs, his niece that he takes in, and you've learned a little bit about him, but you don't know why he's so closed off and cold. And so in this book, El Diablo, we really get to see him being ruthless and why he is the way he is. And then he meets Lexi and starts to kind of change a little bit. But of course, he's still going to be closed off and cold to her. So it takes a while for things to come around. It's definitely got dark elements. There's some pretty graphic things on page that we read about and different stuff like that. But as for like, I don't know, it's probably light dark compared to like the stuff Jessica's talking about.
It is, because I read it. It's compared to my stuff. Mm-hmm. When we decided to do this, I was like, okay, I'm going to find the darkest stuff I can find. So that's what I did.
El Diablo is still good. It's just not like
it's very good.
Good.
I loved it. Yeah. I own it. I loved it. It's great. Okay, so my next one is How the Warrior Fell, and this is by Nicole Renee. So this is a historical barbarian type romance. So this is about Xavier and Leowyn. And at the beginning of the book, they each belong to a different tribe. She's from a tribe that lives in like along the shore. So she's used to being near the sea and getting to go down to the beach and that kind of stuff. And Xavier lives out there somewhere nowhere near the coastline. She doesn't want to marry him. She doesn't want this union, but the tribes need to unite because there's a war coming. And so her father arranges for her to marry Xavier. Xavier is for lack of a better word, he is an asshole. We see there's rape and stuff in this book. He hits her in this book. Like, he is not a good guy to her at all. And Leah Wynn tries to escape a lot. Like, that is the one thing on her mind, is that she wants to escape and she wants to get away from him. But then certain things happen in the book where they have to kind of come together and start to work together. And he needs to leave his assholishness behind. And so there is definitely some redemption for him. It's not what you normally see in a book, because, you know, he's still a dick, but in everyday life, that is not okay. But it worked for me in this book. So, yeah.
In real life, that's not okay, but in this book, yum.
I think I need a therapist.
Yeah. Okay. So my next book is Until I Get You by Claire Contreras. This is about Lachlan and Lila. And this starts off with Lachlan, who is a hockey god around college campus. It's almost the end of college for them. And don't go into this expecting any sort of real hockey. Like, it's referenced that he plays hockey, but we don't see really him interacting in the hockey world on page, other than the mention of like puck bunnies and things like that. And so he has never been really in a relationship. He's just your typical man whore hockey player that we see in books. And then he meets Lila and everything changes for him. And Lila has been very closed off. Some horrible things have happened in her life. She wears baggy clothes. She doesn't want people to really notice her. She doesn't like people. She doesn't really have very many friends, that sort of thing, because she's just very closed off. And when she meets Lachlan, she also feels this instant attraction. And the two of them secretly see each other. And the reason they have to secretly see each other is because Lila has a stalker that is a deadly stalker. And it's pretty horrific, the things that have been happening to her by the hands of her stalker. And so she ends up, after an incident happens, she ends up leaving Lachlan with really no explanation. She moves away, changes her name, and starts her career in med school to become a doctor. And Lachlan continues to play pro hockey. And 3 years later, he decides that he's done with hockey and he is going to go find Lila. And he goes for it. And when he finds her, he is pissed. He's like set out for revenge. And that's where the rest of the story kind of takes place, because he does not know about the horrific things that were happening to her by the hands of her stalker.
Okay. Everybody's got to love a good old stalker romance.
Yes.
Wouldn't want them in everyday life, but
no,
again.
No, thank you. Pass.
No, okay. Pass. All right, so my last recommendation, this one has been making its rounds on TikTok. It's having its little 5 minutes of fame, and that is the book Captured by Lauren Biel. So this one, oh good Lord, this one made me feel all kinds of gross, but it was good. So this is about Ophelia and Alexander. So Ophelia lives with her father. He's drunk and he has sexually abused her, and he is just a horrible guy. But she works at a local diner. Alexander has been raised in a house where his father started out by kidnapping women and keeping them chained in their basement. And his mother was one of those women. She was chained in her own room upstairs when she started having his kids. And so his father has since passed away, and it is his brother and himself that are still continuing to do this. They have been trained to do it. They have been, conditioned to do it by their father. And this is what they do. They capture women, they keep them chained in the basement, and they do whatever they want with them until they die. Alexander goes to the diner where Ophelia works, and he's seen her a lot. She's always nice to him. And his brother, by the way, is absolutely nasty, but he's actually good looking. Now, his mom had played checkers and done things with him growing up, spent time with him. He spent more time with his mother than his father. And so he does have a little bit of humanity in him, just like a crumb of humanity in him. And so one night the brother has his girl that he's downstairs doing whatever he wants to do with her, and they decide that they need to go get another one for Alexander. Normally they keep one at a time, but they want to keep more than one this time. And so he decides that he wants Olivia, so he goes and takes Olivia. And so there we go. there's a lot of horrors that happen. This is more horror romance than anything, which I didn't even realize was a genre, but apparently it is.
I was just gonna say, how is horror romance a romance? I mean, I don't know.
Just is. There's still an HEA.
No.
Figure that one out. Yeah.
All right.
Your last one.
My last one is called Empathy. It is the first book in the Empathy series. You could technically just read Empathy. It's by Care Dookie, before I forget to say that. You could read just the first book and be done with it and live a much happier life, or you can finish the series. And by happier life, I mean the rest of the series gets even more dark and twisted than the first book. So this is about Melody, Blake, and Ryan. I really don't want to give anything away because there's twists and turns. Some you see coming, but even when you do kind of think you know what's happening, so much is happening. Doesn't feel chaotic. It's just really good writing that you're like, oh gosh, that did happen. Like things take you by surprise, even if you think you know what's going to happen. This is very dark. It's very twisted. And there is very detailed murder, killing on page. So it can get a little graphic, especially if you go beyond the first book. The first book is pretty bad too. So that's where it gets its dark stuff from. Melody is a college student and she ends up meeting Blake and Ryan, and they're brothers. And that's really all I'm going to tell you, because if I give too much information away, yeah, you kind of just have to go in blind. So go in blind if you're wanting a dark read. And it is dark. And I can tell you this because Jessica actually wants to read it.
I do. Mandy called me and told me how scared she was. I was like, I'm in.
I know. I'm like, I think I'm going to have nightmares from this stuff.
And I was like, and what's that called again?
Yeah, that's basically exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm scared for nightmares. And Jessica's like, hold on, I didn't get the author's name yet.
Exactly. So, all right, guys. That is all that we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please check your trigger warnings if you read any of these books.
Yes. And after coming soon, we are going to have our Dark and Taboo video up that shows really popular, more dark videos from Jessica, more taboo recs from nope, I said that wrong. More dark recs from Jessica, more taboo recs from me that are really popular. So you're going to want to check that out as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Oh, and make sure to check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
All right. Let us know what your favorite dark romance read is in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.